So now that you're standing, do all of that good work that we initiated through our earth video. Align your feet underneath your hip sockets. See that your heels are lined up with the middle two toes. And then take a moment to close your eyes and assess your own relationship to earth. Notice if the previous work has allowed you to ground down at all with less of a feeling of heaviness and more of a receptivity. And it's interesting, when I offer these prompts, I want you to keep in mind that if things aren't lining up exactly the way that the prompts suggest, it's not an indicator to stop. It's not an indicator of deficiency. It's an orientation to where the work is. And that's why we're here. We're orienting to where the work is. So now allow your hands to kind of trace the pelvic bowl. Use your mind's eye to do this, as well as the new information you have about actual bony structure. And just kind of lightly trace the pieces as you do. I'm getting this feeling that I want to create more space between my hip sockets, and to do that, bending my knees really helps. And then feel around for the sits bones. I like using the anatomical terms sometimes because they're fun, the pubic tubercles. Okay, and then for you, I'm going to turn sideways. Let me go this way so my mouth is closer to the mic. Now, I naturally have, well, I'm pregnant, so it's very accentuated, but I naturally have a little bit of a tilt. This is called an anterior tilt. The top of my pelvis is a little more tilted forward and down than what is typical or standard. So keep that in mind. And as always, attune yourself more to the sensation, the physical body experience of level. And we're going to step the left foot back into a lunge with the back heel lifted. And I want you to find a 90-90 bend. So I've got the cue of the camera here. Press down and forward with your front foot, and press down and back slightly with your back foot, and see if that doesn't give you a little more sense of spaciousness between the hip sockets and also in your low back, which obviously more space between the hip sockets would give your low back a little more space. And then use your toes a little bit more here. So lift the toes of your front foot and press, almost flaring the toes of your back foot into the floor. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. As you inhale, imagine or sense the sits bones, the pubic tubercles moving just slightly away from one another. Genitals back, frontals back. And on exhale, press the floor without straightening your legs at all. Relax your shoulders. And then step your back foot forward. Find parallel. I'm a little out of breath. I notice a significant increase in heat on the right side, but also a little willingness to soften. Go to the other side. Step the opposite foot back. Whoop. Find 90-90. Ooh, and press both feet down, and almost like you were pressing them slightly out at the same time. Take a long, slow, deep inhale, imagining or sensing the pubic tubercles widening. And then as you exhale, press the floor, keeping your knees just as bent, and send that movement up through your spine. And then one more breath. Relax the shoulders and step forward. Parallel. Soften. Relax your back. Now we're going to come into that again. I'm going to spend a little time talking. I invite you to stay in the sensation of feet touching earth and start to draw the connections up through your leg bones, but then also feeling for this soft tissue that wraps from the upper inner thigh bones around the front of your hip sockets up and over that bowl. around the back and attaches deep into the spine and the low ribs. So with some awareness now of setting the structure in order to move deeper into soft tissue, we'll do it again. So for me, left foot back is what I did first. And as I press my feet down into the floor, I'm feeling for space laterally, right to left. Now I want to start to sense on the back leg, primarily, soft tissue, receptivity from the top of my inner thigh bone, wrapping up and over my pelvic bowl, moving deep into the back ribs. And just allow that to change my posture, my shape. Now it's difficult. I'm weight bearing here, so there is some natural tendency to grip and pull up. I'm really working towards pressing through my leg bones, staying soft in abdomen and jaw to allow for a feeling of psoas. And my left hip wants to drop down and kind of sag. So I'm going to come out of it. Indicator for me, I need some release there. And let's go to the other leg. First, taking a breath. Don't want to rush myself here. Yeah, so there's a totally different orientation now. What I felt from the first practice, the work I really felt on my right side when it was just about bone and structure, suddenly felt like, okay, these muscles are turned on, I'm rooted. But now that I spent my mental energy connecting to soft tissue, I'm experiencing more almost like a hanging back on my left side, and not slow or hesitant, just like I don't need to propel myself forward, which is a tendency. That's what this anterior tilt is all about. I need to go somewhere. I need to fix it. I need to protect myself. So, storylines present themselves in our posture. Step the opposite foot back. Find structure. Don't breeze through it, but also don't linger. And psoas, without getting distracting, psoas actually is a part of a fascial line that moves all the way up into the shoulder and the side of the neck. So there's some awareness here for me. On the right side, there's a lot of binding, and I'm feeling the space behind my shoulder blade pretty acutely. So as the feet press, rather than emphasizing action down, I'm organizing my attention toward softening in, holding through being. One more breath. And yeah, there's the same feeling of like, we'll give into that movement in just a moment. Losing my balance here. Step forward. Settle for a few breaths. Maybe you linger in the shape a few more breaths. Not only allowing mind to track physical body sensation, but as we start unwinding more and more, tracking emotional body. How emotional body might inform mental body or be influenced by mental body. Not quite connected to spiritual body yet. So let's do this shape one more time. And now we're moving more towards the shape shifting. So just let that word wash over you, and maybe you listen just to that word on repeat in your mind rather than my dialogue so much. You can also repeat this, of course. But let's come to the first side, our 90-90 lunge. A little bit of movement to initiate freedom with shape shifting because it will feel different. And here's where you can really start to detach from a sense of there being specific guidance. So find the structure, find the soft tissue, and then notice how the structure wants to move, and explore the possibility that it's a little bit of a repetitive movement, just a very small motion that shows up at first, and put that on repeat. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining mine because I want you to find yours. Shape shifting. To stay connected to soft tissue and the desire of psoas. In order to really be, where do you need to go? What is the posture? Just another couple breaths. And come back to standing parallel. Track. Tuning in emotional body, mental body, maybe a sense of something subtler, somehow larger than that. Just an invitation for anyone feeling a little bit just physically taxed from this. Great, you're on my team. But we are activating quads and glutes doing all of this, so make no mistake, this is definitely going to heat you up and get the heart pumping. So find your 90-90 lunge. Maybe it's not quite 90-90, but you get my point. Even bend in the legs. Establish structure. And start attuning towards soft space. And listen for the pulse, the rhythm. Inner thigh. Connecting pelvic bowl, connecting spine, connecting rib space, even into shoulder girdle and neck. Find that first downbeat. See if and how it wants to change. Try to stay connected from the feet all the way through. So keep the feet as the primary root. Find something like mountain pose. Feet parallel. And now the third part of our practice is audio, so that there is really less distraction visually and you can really give yourself to the movement exploration. You can come back to this portion at any time, just so you have some sense of structure. I highly recommend doing this until you feel like you get it, almost getting to the point where you've memorized the cues, so you can be less mental. more subjective, more feeling based. I'll see you, or I won't see you. I'll be talking at you in the next portion.